Welcome to the F1Stop show. I am your host, Samuel Oney, and with me is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. A bit tired. Obviously we've had Storm Eunice and Storm Franklin over here in the UK, so it's caused havoc with the trains, which isn't great for my for me commuting to work. But besides that, I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. I took a walk in that storm, and I felt its draft. I was almost blown away, but I'm here now.
I've seen videos on like social media and stuff of people just being literally blown away
Yeah,
by it. They can't walk into it; they just fall over.
yeah. So let's get into it. Car launches have continued, and recently we saw Mercedes and Alpine launch their cars over the last couple of days. Let's start with Mercedes then. Well, what do you think of their car? They've gone back to their new car is the W13, and they've gone back to their silver arrows livery. What do you think of it? What are your thoughts?
Uh, I do quite like it. I mean, obviously it's a bit different to, I suppose, what we've become used to. Have we become used to the black Mercedes livery? Maybe. I think I did, because I just think the black just looks so good on the Mercedes for the last 2 years, and then this change to silver, which I completely understand why they've gone back to silver. It's their heritage, it's their tradition. They are the silver arrows, they're not the black arrows, and it just looks. It doesn't quite look as striking as the black cars we've had the last 2 years. But having
Yeah,
said that, I think it still looks good. I do still like the sort of turquoise, cyan, whatever shade of blue it is, sort of not pinstripe, is a bit thicker than a pinstripe, but the Patronus blue stripe along the side, with a bit of black in there as well. I think that works really well. But yeah, overall, I do quite like it. I'm not massively keen on the Mercedes logo arrows, if you like, on sort of
yeah,
on the engine cover. I think they did that a few years ago, and a lot of people weren't too keen on it then. But I think it's better than what they put out a couple of years ago when they originally planned that. But yeah, overall, I think as a livery, it is quite good. I mean, as was said with I think Red Bull, this is Mercedes in a nutshell. It's silver, it's blue, it's Mercedes AMG Petronas all rolled into one. So yeah, it's pretty much spot on for them.
yeah.
What do you
I
make of
have
it?
to agree with I have to agree with you because when I first saw it, I was okay. They've gone back to their silver arrows livery, and it was it wasn't really appealing. It wasn't really, oh wow, this is great for Mercedes. They've kind of just gone old school, back to how they were originally. The color scheme is great with the silver and the blue along the sides. Yeah, I can't really say much about it. Um, I mean, we know that the talking point for the car launches has been the side pods mostly and the
Yeah.
designs. Looking at Mercedes one, nothing. It doesn't really appeal to me there. There's no wow moment, but I feel overall that the car is very good, and yeah, it's their 2022 challenger for the season. So, how would you rate it out of 10 then?
Um, just before we get on to points, we had a look at Ferraris last week, and Mercedes and Ferrari have gone down two completely different routes. Ferrari have gone for quite a wide and narrow sort of side pod and quite a wide nose as well. Where Mercedes, I wouldn't say it's a wide nose, but it's probably as you would expect for this era of cars, these new rules. And again, the side pods are, I'd say, more comparative to your Red Bull, possibly your Alpha Tauri than your Haas, your Ferrari sort of thing. So yeah, two again different designs. Whether one will pay off more than the other, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We've got testing which starts tomorrow when we're recording this, the 23rd of February. But of course, it's not being live streamed anywhere. There's no official timings or anything for testing, which isn't great.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, anyway, getting back to your actual question and my marks for the livery, um, I do quite like it, but there's just something that's just holding it back from me giving it a like a top mark, an 8, a 9, or a 10. So I think I'm going to give it. I don't know, I think 7's too harsh. I'm going to give it an 8 anyway, even though I've just
8.
said that. I'll give it an 8
Wow.
out of 10. I do
Okay.
quite like it. Yeah.
If you, I mean, yeah. So I think it looks all right, but it just doesn't stand out for me. Like for example, if I had to change anything, I'd actually I'd actually change it to have the black livery instead. Maybe the black livery, pretty much last year, the black livery with a bit of silver at the back and maybe some white and some red as well. Yeah, and then it would make it even better. But seeing the silver, which is great, there's no wow factor about it. So if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd say a sensible 7 out of 10. Yeah, sensible
Yeah,
7.
very fair, I think.
So let's move on to Alpine then. Alpine, or should I say the BWT Alpine car? So as they had their new as they're now back with BWT or Racing Point, as some of us will remember. Well, what do you make of the car then?
I mean, they could have done a lot worse. Let's face it. They could have just been completely pink. I mean, BWT could have gone, an Alpine, they could have gone down the full, as you say, the Racing Point route and just had a completely pink car, which we've seen it once before with Racing Point, but you don't really want to see it again. I mean, I get they're like a title sponsor and they want their colours on their car, which again I can completely understand. But if it's been done once, a pink car, then I mean, some with a team like Alpine and a brand as strong as Alpine's is, with its traditional sort of French racing blue,
Mhm.
you can't just throw that all away because you've got a big money sponsor. And to be fair play to Alpine, they haven't done that. I think what they've actually done is similar. Well, it's similar to last year's car, really, sort of blue and a bit of a French flag sort of thing going on towards the rear. And
Yeah,
I have to say, the pink does work okay. I think with the blue. I know it will shock some people. I know with pink on a car, like who does that? But I think just the shades and the shades of them work really well. I'm not sure, like as a car, as a livery, it's brilliant, but I have to say, I was expecting something a lot worse, and I come out of this, but it's being pleasantly surprised by what Alpine have put forward. I mean, for their livery for all but 2 races of the year, they have got a 2-off livery, if you like, for the opening 2 rounds, which is pretty much completely pink with a bit of blue behind the engine. But obviously as a nod to BWT, but yeah, once we get those 2 races out of the way in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, we get back to this, what I think is actually a pretty decent livery from Alpine. I know a lot of people will say otherwise, and the way you've reacted tells me you're probably going to say otherwise as well. But overall, I think it's given BWT's sort of control, if you like, over
yeah,
liveries in the past. I think Alpine have actually done a pretty good job.
yeah. I actually like it as well. I think the pink really works well with it. Especially along the sides as well with the BWT logo, it works really well, and it's quite a good car. I really like it. I really like it. How would you rate it out of 10? Or what should we make of the vents on the side pods?
Yeah, okay, they've gone sort of down a similar route to Ferrari. They're quite wide and narrow, well, not narrow but thin, if you like. Yeah, that's something I've only just noticed actually. So thank you for reminding me about that. But yeah, it's just, and they've got the vents on sort of the side, similar to the Ferrari. I mean, they're obviously 2 completely different constructors, completely different manufacturers. You've got Renault and Ferrari, yet somehow they've both done quite similar things to each other. I'm not saying Alpine will perform at the same level as Ferrari, because Ferrari got so many millions more in R&D, but the fact that they've done a similar thing could point to something. Maybe the 2 teams performing somewhat similarly, or certainly similar to what they did last year, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, the livery itself is tricky, but I think I'm going to give it a 7.
7.
Yeah, I don't think I can give it any more than a 7. I
Mm.
think I could knock it down like a half point or a point to a 6, but having said, yeah, I do quite like it. I have to say so. Yeah, 7 for me.
Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I've kind of struggled with the launches we've had so far. Personally, for me, I feel like I've struggled to give cars a higher rating, anything higher than 8, with Aston Martin being the exception, or
Yeah,
Ferrari. But yeah, I've
sorry.
kind of
Yeah.
struggled to give a higher rating. Or do you think it's down to the design of the cars or how they're released, or what do you think is holding people back into giving it a 9 or a 10?
Um, I don't know. I think these new cars. I mean, they look to me anyway a lot more stylish and a lot more sleek. This is just the actual cars themselves. I'm not talking about like paint jobs yet,
Yeah,
but they just look a lot smoother and a lot more aesthetic than cars that we've been used to over the last lot of 5, 10 years or so. But yeah, 17. Sorry, car just beeped outside. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but yeah, I mean, some teams have done that well, like as we say, Aston Martin, like Ferrari, like Red Bull as well. But I think other teams have played it a bit safe, not looking at anyone in particular, Haas. Um, but yeah, I think teams had a sort of an opportunity to be a bit more creative and sort of divert from where they traditionally or what they've traditionally done in terms of liveries, because we've got these sort of new regulations and new designs of cars. But yeah, a lot of teams have played it quite safe. Like Mercedes is very similar to what we've seen a few years ago. Even Red Bull is obviously the same, but that's sort of a given. McLaren, I think, could have been a bit more bold, gone perhaps down more sort of the Golf livery route, like we saw in Monaco, rather
yeah,
than I think some people have said it's like an IndyCar livery on an F1 car, and people saying that doesn't work quite well. Yeah, I still quite like it, but then that's because I'm a McLaren fan, I suppose. But yeah, there's been a bit of a mix this year, and to be fair, there was quite a bit of a mix last year, if I remember rightly, with our ranking. But
yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of teams have played it a little bit safer, and teams like maybe Mercedes and McLaren could have pushed the boat out a bit more in terms of what they could have done.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Right. So before we move on, I want to say that maybe next time we'll do like an overall ranking of deliveries. But
yeah.
but I just want to ask you one thing. Out of all the launches that we've had so far, just a sneak peek, who's your favorite, or who's your number one? I would say number one.
Favorite car,
Yeah,
favorite livery, Aston Martin. No question for me. Aston Martin, it just looks so good, and it's such an improvement from last year, even though it is quite similar to what they put out last year. But the sort of Aston Martin green, along with the sort of light green, along with a more traditional, not necessarily British racing green, but a darker green, it just works so well. And the way they've designed the car again just looks so striking. It's completely different to anything else on the grid. I mean, maybe that's just because it's a green car and the grid
yeah,
is typically quite blue. Um, but I mean, Haas, they've got a predominantly white car, as of AlphaTauri to some extent, and yet again, those two teams have played it quite safe, gone pretty much exactly the same as last year, albeit with a few changes. But yeah, I say that as so of Aston Martin as well, but I just can't quite explain why. But the Aston Martin just looks so much better than anything else on the grid, with the exception of the Ferrari. The Ferrari is another one I will concede is. I think I gave it a 9.5 last week,
yeah.
whereas I gave the Aston Martin a 10. So, which car stands out to you?
Um, Aston Martin does stand out to me. I mean, it was the side pods and yeah, it was the side pods and the darker green livery that really caught my eye. But I have to, and I think I gave that a higher rating as well, maybe like 9 or something. But I think the Ferrari has really pulled it out of the bag for me. I think they've literally stepped up and they wanted to wow us, and they've really wowed me with their livery. The dark red and the defense along the side. It's just like I think I mentioned last week. It looks like an old 80s Ferrari car. So yeah, it looks great. It looks great. I'm really excited to see it on track.
And I suppose that moves us quite nicely into our next session about testing and seeing the cars on track. And I've seen clips of, I think, the McLaren on track, and I think on track, I have to say, it does look even better than in the render. So maybe that'll sway a few more people. But actually, just going back to things a second, when Mercedes had their sort of shakedown session at
Yeah,
Silverstone, I
in the
think it
rain.
was on Friday in the rain when the storm was going on. So I wonder what their lap times would have been like. I don't think Hamilton or Russell would have got much more challenging conditions to
Yeah,
test the car in than that. Um, yeah, testing obviously at Barcelona, as it I suppose usually is, with this unofficial test, if you like,
mhm,
going on. So we won't actually, it's not being broadcast anywhere. There's no live timings being provided by Formula One. I think some people are. I think Autosport magazine, I think, are doing like sort of live text commentary of times and cars and all the usual stuff that you would expect people like Sky and Formula One to do. So maybe we'll have to keep an eye on that over the next week or so to see how the cars are doing. But yeah, once we've got this test in Barcelona done, then they go out to Bahrain, where that will actually be broadcast. We as fans will be able to see what's going on. We'll get all the live
yeah,
timings, etc., etc. Which should be good fun, I think. Given we're in this new era of cars, we don't really know how they'll sort of compare to last year and how they'll compare against each other. Yeah, again, it's not long until until the first race of the
mm,
season, 3-4 weeks, I think it is. So yeah, looking forward to it.
indeed, indeed. Now, I want us to get into a bit of a discussion before we finish off, and I think I found a question on Twitter by Quick Stop F1. They are a podcast who do talk about F1 stuff. I mean, they are great. And after the Mercedes launch, they posed out a question to everybody, which I'm gonna read out, and it says, after the Mercedes launch and the other teams, and Michael Massey's removal of his from his post from FIA, with the season so close to being underway, here's the question: Are you excited? Are you excited for F1 in 2022, or is there still more work to do before you get there? As in, before your excitement, goes over the roof. So, are you excited, or do you think there's still work to be done by F1 and the FIA, considering what has happened over the last 2 months in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I am excited for this F1 season. I can see why people say they wouldn't be, obviously, given the fallout from Abu Dhabi and Massey, etc., etc. But I think that just gives people even more of a reason to be excited because they want to see how Lewis Hamilton comes back from what was, quite frankly, a robbed win, a manipulated race, as he said on the radio, and potentially that, well, some might see that has been proven true by Massey's essential firing by the FIA's race director, and they've got 3 new guys in. So, yeah, I am excited, not just because of Lewis Hamilton and how he's going to come back. I think he said in the Mercedes press conference that people thought they saw the best of him last year. Well, they've got to wait and see this year first, which is real fighting talk from
Yeah,
a guy who's been in F1 for so long now, 7 times world champion. He's done it all. He's got all the records, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, etc.
mm,
But he's still hungry for that record 8th title, and I don't blame him, to be honest. Obviously, after what happened at last, you would want to fight that with everything that you've got. But as I say, that's not the only reason I'm excited for the season. We've got new cars, we've got driver change of Russell in a Mercedes. How is he going to perform up against Hamilton? We've got Bottas to Alfa Romeo, the first Chinese driver, Guan Yu Zhou racing for Alfa Romeo. Alex Albon's back on the grid.
Good to see. Good to
There's
see.
just so much in this F1 season to get excited about. New regs, I can't remember if I mentioned that. I don't think we've got any new tracks on there. I can't remember if Hockenheim is back on the calendar. Australia's back, Canada's back. There's just so many reasons to get excited for this F1 season, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's 18th of the
18th.
session in Bahrain is underway, and then
Yeah.
the race will be on the 20th, 21st, something like that. I can't quite remember exactly, but yeah, not long, less than a month to go until we go green. And I say we go green, that's more of a Jack Nicholls Formula E thing. Lights out, there we go.
There we
That's
go.
David Croft on F1. Are you
Yeah,
excited for this year?
I am. I am really excited. I feel like with the new era, it's like we've closed one book. I mean, we've closed one book, and we're turning the page, and we're about to start a new chapter. We're about to start a new story. Like you said, there's so much to look forward to. You know, new cars, driver changes. It's just great. I feel that with the Massey drama and the Abu Dhabi drama, it should have been handled a lot differently than how it was. I feel that with these changes with the FIA and the race directory, one thing I hope for is that if they have rules, you stick to it. Your decision shouldn't be influenced by maybe like one-sided, if you get what I mean, someone else's opinion. You should, follow the rule book and put everything in place so it just goes smoothly, no biased stuff, because it's stuff like that resulted in the Abu Dhabi drama. So I just hope the rules are followed and everyone will have fun and invite new fans into F1. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. Speaking of new fans, I know we mentioned it last week, but Drive to Survive out in 3 weeks' time, I believe, 11th of March.
Oh yes.
I know I'll be watching it, and again, we get to watch back essentially a blockbuster F1 season.
Oh
That's a
boy.
bit sort of cliche,
Oh boy,
blockbuster
oh
season,
boy.
but it just was. So we get to watch that, and then the week after, Bahrain Grand Prix.
Oh,
Let's
brilliant.
go.
that week there from Drive to Survive to the Bahrain Grand Prix is going to be very exciting. So yeah, I believe that's it for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. Mercedes and Alpine have launched their cars, so that means there's just one car to go, one team to launch, and that is Alfa Romeo, who are launching on the 27th of February, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember the exact date, but yeah, it's late this month.
Yeah, 27th of February. So they will be the last team to launch their cars, and then testing would have been on the way by then. Yeah, so we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. And well, remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and you can also email us. So our Twitter handle is at F1Stop Show. Our Instagram is at F1Stop Show Pod, and you can also email us at the F1Stop Show at gmail.com. So I've been your host, Samuel Ernie. It's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And we hope you enjoyed the testing in the next couple of days.